What is your opinion on modding certain EDC tools such as the Leatherman Arc?
I don't know where the mentality came from. I have this very weird thing where I like stuff completely bone stock. I don't even like changing my wallpaper.
It says, can you rate your favorite EDC knife lock types? And I was about to say, right now I don't love frame locks. How do you guys put so much in your pockets? We could give a practical answer, right? But really where I wanted to go with this is like, do you guys think that just because you have pockets, you need to put so much stuff in them? What's up, everyone? Welcome to Carry the Way, the weekly podcast where we nerd out about all things EDC gear and maybe try to teach you a thing or two while we're at it. I'm Bernard, the founder of everydaycarry.com, and I'm joined by our editor, Mikey.
Hey, welcome back.
If you're new to the show, welcome. Here we talk about the latest in EDC gear, answer questions from the community, and review pocket dump submissions from our viewers. If you've listened before, we just want to thank you so much for the support, and also give a reminder to give a thumbs up to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, as it really helps the channel. We're going to start, as usual, with a pocket dump. So, Mikey, how about you start first? Because, spoiler alert, all my stuff is like the news cycle. So, you go first, and then we'll jump into the news / my pocket check.
I got a little something old and something new. This is one of the most recent Surefire releases. It's their pocket thrower. This is the EDC 1 DFT Turbo. And I was actually going to give this away, and then I realized I don't have a pocket thrower anymore. And what I really, really appreciate, this has made me fall in love with Surefire all over again, because I used to have a whole bunch of them before. I haven't found a flashlight that has the same level of anodizing as Surefire does. I don't know what it is about what they do with their anodizing. It's still the best. It's still the smoothest, the nicest to the touch that I've ever used. I also like Proud button. I realized that I really, really like Proud mechanical tail switch, and it's really up to my spec. Really simple, two modes. It's a nice thrower. Very rare smooth reflector these days, and it's still kind of handheld for a pocket thrower. So that's what I've been carrying lately. Really love it. And the little bit of something new, I saw that you made a video for the mini narrows, and I have been playing with Vosted's take on the thin boy. This is the Vosteed Parallel in black, and it was not great out of the box. I will completely admit, it is not a fantastic flipping experience out of the box. Unlike,
that's why I didn't want to carry mine.
I had to send it to a friend to retune it, adjust the Omega spring. I had to fidget with it for about a few weeks before it started feeling okay, and it's now got into a better place. But it is kind of uncharacteristic for Vosted's flippable, flippable knives. And I do appreciate what goes into this, and I think technically by 0.01 millimeter on paper, this is the thinnest folding knife with a lock on the market. I think.
Perhaps. However, the absolute thinnest part of the mini narrows is pocketed out a little bit, like here.
Sure.
So that might be like 0.02 millimeters shaved. That keeps it the king of thinness, I think.
Sure. Fair. So, and I do like the design of the narrows. And based on your video, it looks like the action is so much better.
Oh, yeah. It's super good. The problem is it's $600. So,
yeah, that's a big problem. So, yeah, I've been giving it a shot, giving it an honest shot. Been using it to open recent packages and just trying to break it in as much as possible. It's getting there, but it's not the great out of the box experience I've come to experience from Vosted. So, yeah, so that's Surefire, older Surefire light and newer Vosted knife. And yeah, that's it for me. What about for you?
All right. So a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about is going to be the news cycle. So how about I start with, it's not even new though. I showed this before on the podcast, but past couple of weeks, I've had some pretty dysregulating, anxious moments. So I've actually really liked carrying this set of mala beads. These are 15 millimeter mala beads in titanium from Around Square, and this has been just an interesting first kind of experiment for me of having something dedicated to fidgeting that is not a blade. And I know some people might be rolling their eyes just like, oh, is it like it doesn't do anything? Yeah, but like I found comfort in it. I actually did. So it's nice to just have in my pocket. I don't even wear it. I resized it and everything, but that was a pain. But I just like having it and just holding on to it. And I can like, roll it through my hands or whatever and just count the beads, do some breath work. But really, like I found it does the job that it's designed to do, which is to help you either focus or calm down by
Right.
just the tactile experience of having beads with weight in your hand. It was very nice. So I enjoyed this so much that I bought the stainless steel version that's
Ooh, the
twice as heavy.
heaviest, the
Twice as
heaviest
heavy.
boy. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm curious to see how that will play out. And it's just different for me because it is not purely utilitarian in the traditional sense of everyday carry gear, right?
Mm.
And then it's also intentionally getting the heaviest thing possible. I got titanium thinking that I would want the lighter one, right? But now I'm getting something twice as heavy that really does nothing. So this will be an interesting experiment. And can I sort of manage or tolerate excess weight in
Mm.
my carry that doesn't serve too much function? Because I think I'm valuing this ability to have something that sort of aids in my self-regulation or whatever, in the moment versus just another flicky pocket knife or something,
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
When you showed me that you ordered the 15 millimeter, I took that as the go signal to order my own. I have it on the way for the next episode. I'll have it ready. I ordered the 14 millimeter because I
Yeah.
have the 14 millimeter in the ebony wood, and that is my
Mhm.
absolute favorite one. That's the one I wear all the time. It's really nice to the touch, and I wanted to see what it was like to have it in titanium. I expect it's going to be about 5 times heavier, and that might be a new experience in itself. But yeah, I really like how
Yeah.
that looks. I'm excited to have my own pair, and yeah, it has been same with me. It has been helpful. If I'm sometimes when I'm driving and I kind of just get agitated, I just want to
Hmm.
do something like this, and then that really helps calm me down and just slow down, and that just the small subtle sound of it doing the clacking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, on board with this.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we'll jump into the news cycle next, which is basically a continuation of my pocket dump because I've been testing a lot of this new stuff. But
Mm,
first, an ad from our sponsor and parent company, Ridge. It is my Ridge wallet. So I have my Ridge wallet still in my EDC in titanium with the matching key case, and this is my setup these days. If you don't know Ridge, it's a minimalist ARFID blocking wallet that's perfect for most minimalist EDCs in a bunch of different colors and materials. It has ARFID blocking technology. You can fit cash on it, and you can learn more at our link, ridge.com/carrytheway. And you can also save 10% off your order. They make all sorts of stuff besides these wallets and key cases. We have knives, rings, luggage, that sort of thing. Disclaimer, they are the parent company of everydaycarry.com. So if you buy from our links, it also supports the show. So thank you for that. And thank you to Ridge for sponsoring this episode. So thank you to our sponsor, Ridge, for sponsoring this podcast. The first item in our news cycle and part of my pocket dump is actually one of their newest products. So I've been testing out the new Ridge Biflex wallet. So this is their first all soft wallet. So it's elastic and leather, and it's still RFID blocking, but it has this new internal organization system. So there's like a pocket on the front and then a pocket on the back. And this one is actually designed by MKBHD. So this is part of his like line of Ridge products that are coming out. And this one you can tell is different from what we have on the screen and this like tobacco brown version, just because it has a central notch here on the bottom. I think Marquez likes visual symmetry, and then it's got dual branding here. So it's got MKBHD's logo on the top, and then it's got the classic debossed ridge leather here. So
so
this
it's
is what
all
I've been carrying.
so it's all soft and focuses on organization. Sounds like a wallet for me.
Yeah, right.
All soft and all about that organization.
Yeah. So there's the original Ridge wallet has like this notch, right? And then you kind of just push out your cards and
Mm.
fan them. You can do that, but then on the back there's this other it's kind of hard to explain, but it like
Is it that like a quick draw?
it's on the back, but it points in the opposite direction because the to get the wallet this thin, I think it's a single piece of leather that's like folded in an S shape so that there's one pocket on one side and then on the other side of the S it's a pocket that points the other way. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right, right,
hard.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I can like explain it this way, but and I'm really sorry for the people listening because I have no like way to articulate that in words.
Mm,
But yeah, watch this on YouTube if you can. But anyway,
yeah.
I've been using this black version and then also the brown tobacco brown version. Just testing this. I actually like sat on it a lot just to see how that would feel. I personally don't like it. And I still like having this as a front pocket wallet.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's this new uh, wallet design from Ridge, which I think is a big deal because the one before this was the Ridge Lite, which I don't think would really resonate with a lot of people who are into EDC because they might as well just get the full Ridge wallet for like more protection and more features and modularity and stuff like that. But this, I think, will hit that subset of people that kind of like the idea of a minimalist wallet, but not something hard, right? So
Question, because don't
yes.
have mine in hand yet.
Mhm.
How does it hold on to like a coin or a key?
A coin or a key?
Is the elastic good enough to at least keep them in place in your pocket, or is there a high likelihood that they'll get shaken out if they're holding
Mm,
maybe a couple of coins or one or two keys? Because
I
that's how I need to use it. I have two
it's
keys
definitely
and some
not designed
coins.
for that. It's not
Right.
designed for that, and I can't say because
You think they'll fall out?
I don't know if they'll fall out. I don't have any way to test right now, but it's not designed for that, so I think we shouldn't like try that. But two, it's because it's leather and elastic, both of those things can stretch or like change shape over time depending on what you
Right.
put in it. So I don't know because I haven't had mine for very long. These haven't been out for very long, so I
Yeah.
just haven't had that.
Or
Um,
I can just put the tray in.
you can, but then now it's not completely soft.
True. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll try
Yeah.
and see how that works out. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, like this is a new silhouette from Ridge. It's like a Ridge wallet, but it's finally kind of
Also more
addressing
affordable.
those people. Yeah, it's more affordable too. So it's addressing those people who want to sit on their wallets or they don't want their wallets to get to scratch their other gear rather or vice versa. So I think it can be a compelling option for a lot of people. Marquez loves this wallet, and that's the one he uses. So MKBHD on YouTube. The thing that I don't like, I'm allowed
Hmm.
to say this, I don't like about Marquez's wallet is that when I put my card in the front, the notch, because it's in the center, it just shows part of my last name and it says Pulong. And I don't know how I feel about having Pulong just like show. I think that's just an unfortunate name on my end. But anyway, check this out. You could grab it at ridge.com and yeah, let us know what you think of this. They're making more wallets instead of just the original Ridge wallet, so it's pretty cool. Next, let's jump into another part of my EDC uh, that I've been trying out, and this is from our friends at Gear Infusion. This is the GhostTI utility blade thing. I have it on screen. I'm holding it up for my keychain. And this is a utility knife made of, or a utility knife holder made of grade 5 titanium and has this interesting one piece design.
I
So,
don't know if how many people still remember Gear Infusion's best known for their Ever Ratchet.
yeah.
It was a one piece multi tool that had a pry edge on the main business end, but its main feature was a notch for a 1/4 hex bit, but it had a ratcheting system where when you're twisting it, it does the clacking thing, but then when you it can still it had an innovative way of ratcheting so that you can keep on twisting without keeping on lifting the bit and stuff. So this is their newest product. It's a
Mhm.
very minimal titanium utility
It's like
blade
a
holder.
frame. Yeah,
Yeah, it
it's
is.
like a
Yeah.
frame for a utility blade. And I like it. Like I like it enough to put on my keychain. I already
Mm,
like talk about on the show all the time how I have too much stuff on my keychain, but this one I actually want to keep on there. And
yeah,
it's because it's like the bare I feel like it's the bare minimum thing that can like function as what it's designed to do, which is it's hard to do that.
right.
Like with any gear, I think like I tend to gravitate towards that. Like, what is the bare minimum thing that can get the job done, but also looks and feels and works beautifully? Kind of
Mm,
reminds me of the benchmade narrows, in
yeah.
that sense,
Head to
in that
head
kind of
time.
design, yeah, in that kind of design ethos. But like, I'll show you how it works a little bit. So it's almost like there's a frame lock, where it's like a piece of titanium that you push out of the way, right? So when you press down on this one side, then you can slide the blade out and it will lock into two positions. But
Mm,
then you can use gravity to kind of like, put it back in by just disengaging the lock and it'll slide back in. And then
mm,
it's held by a magnet. So even if the lock somehow gets disengaged upside down, the magnet holds it in place. So it's not falling out like towards my hand. So it's like safe and slim and it's very simple, but it works. So
What's cool is the magnet also allows it to attach to stuff in addition to holding the blade too, right?
oh, true, true.
It's a back
Yeah.
to front utility for the magnet. So
Yeah.
magnets are always cool.
Except when they're not. So but like if you carry or like if you wear a mechanical watch, like a vintage mechanical watch that doesn't have like good anti-magnetism, then maybe like
Mm.
this you would want to
Or
be
work in a
careful with
metal
this.
shop.
Yeah, but no, I find this pretty cool. Oh, another thing that's cool is built into this frame there is a, uh it's like a cutout that works like a
Seatbelt
rope
cutter.
cutter kind of. Yeah. So like you can, like if you have tags on clothes or whatever, you don't have to like flick out your whole knife. You just do that.
Mm.
So pretty cool. And then there's a lanyard attachment hole, and then there's also like this flat edge. It's really hard to see, but it's not sharpened. It's just this flat edge. Trying to find a picture of it.
So it's a
Oh, here.
pry
It's like a box
scraper.
ripper. Yeah, so you
Right.
can like puncture into the packing tape and just run it across there without actually pulling out the blade. So technically you could just completely remove this blade and then it would be TSA friendly and it
Mm.
would be something that could open packing tape and then pry and stuff like that and
Mm.
like scrape, but it wouldn't drive screws. And you would have to go to a hardware store wherever your destination is and just pick up some utility blades and then you're, back in action. But yeah, anyway, this is grade 5 titanium and it is now $35. So, disclaimer, I probably should have done this disclaimer earlier. Gear Infusion has been an advertiser on the website, but we're not paid to talk about it on the podcast or anything. I just think it's cool. It's like actually part of my EDC, and they did send me this as a pre-production sample for free. So that too, like you guys
Yeah.
should know that. So I didn't pay for this, but I do like the product and I'm gonna keep it in my EDC. And I like that they made it $35 instead of the original $50. So that's
That's a
cool.
great. That's pretty cool for a full titanium tool. I
Yeah.
feel like there are a bunch of titanium tools out there that are more than $50 that do less. I feel
Yeah.
like
I
so.
think they were able to hit the $35 goal because they got fully funded, and
Mm,
having more backers means that can increase the minimum order quantity so that the
MOQ. Yeah.
overall pricing per unit goes down, and then he passes on the new pricing to the backers. So
Yeah.
very cool. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and I've liked Gear Infusion stuff ever since the first ever Ratchet. I thought it was pretty clever. I'm just making the most out of the tiny space. Like you said, room
Mhm.
stripping as much excess as you can and still retaining the core function and still being a bit unique about it. I think that's always a cool exploration of how people can do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
And I
Okay.
always love seeing new. I always love seeing new utility blades. It's one of those things. It's like the complete opposite of just the whole folding knife ecosystem, and still
Hmm.
people are still trying to do something with the humble box cutter, and trying to do something cool with it that would appeal to also to, that's both useful and would appeal to like EDC people as well.
Dude,
So.
I feel like we could do a whole deep dive like video essay about why utility knives are becoming trendy in EDC, and like
And it's not
I
stopping.
it's not stopping. No, I'm getting more in my desk. I'm seeing more people make utility blades, and like they're basically box openers, and I think it's just because it's so easy to shop online now, and then, consumerism, and just
Yeah.
like people be shopping, right? And then you just open those packages with utility blades, and you don't need like a $200, or in some cases a $600, 7 millimeter thick knife to do that. Anyway, that's a
Yeah.
completely different
Yeah.
topic. So, but
Speaking of
let's jump.
expensive knives again.
Yeah, let's jump into the next piece of news, which is
Yeah.
not part of my EDC, but it could very well be. This is the Artisan Cutlery Revel, and I believe who designed this again? It's
It's Justin Lundquist.
no, it's not.
It
It's not
is.
Lundquist. It is.
Oh,
Are you
sorry.
sure?
I'm sorry. I
No, I
completely
think
jumped the
it's.
gun on that. It's
Is it Laconico? No.
Laconico. There you go.
Is it? Is it actually?
It is. It is. It is. So I first okay. So backstory to this, I got to try the first version of this, which came in S90V, and I kept on thinking, I think this is a Bernard knife. This is
Yeah.
100% a Bernard knife. And then Artisan Cutlery hits me up a couple of months later. We're gonna make it a Magna Cut, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah, this
you
thing is
gotta
sick.
send one. You gotta send one to Bernard. He is gonna just love it, even though it's kind of a larger end of the
It's
knife
just a bit
spectrum.
big. Yeah.
Yeah, even to me it feels kind of big, but it just feels really good in hand. The action is great.
Yeah.
The proportions and the balance of it is pretty good in hand. It is just kind of a big boy.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. So it's you kind of can't really tell from the image, but it's only big when the blade is deployed, and the blade proportional to the handle is like much bigger. And I guess you can kind of see that when the blade is closed, like how much of the blade sticks out.
Mhm.
But that's where it's most striking to me. Like it seems fine closed. Like this is like, okay, it's like a full size knife, but it's nothing crazy. But then when it's open, it feels so much bigger,
It
just
is, yeah.
because of this. Yeah. um
And I think they made that Magna Cut version more polished than the original S90V. That looks more polished to me.
yeah, so this is in CPM Magna Cut, limited to 200. I have a numbered version here, and it has it's Ray Laconica, right? Ray,
Yeah,
that's his
right.
name. Yeah.
Who is
His
actually Filipino? I just found out recently.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah. I That's a very Filipino sounding name, actually.
Mm.
um, but yeah, so 3.5 4-inch blade, so it's quite long, and it's in this clip point style, so pretty
Yeah.
cool. And it has like this pill shaped thumb hole, and it's
Frame
a
lock.
frame lock. Yeah, but the titanium handle also has this cool. It's not an inlay, but it's just like patterning etched into it. Let me see if I can
Does it
catch
have a
that.
backspacer? I forgot already.
It does, and it says Artisan Cutlery on it, I
Oh,
think.
cool.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Um, so it's pretty cool. It's actually quite beautiful. It's not super futuristic looking as that I would normally like. This has
Yeah.
more of like a classic kind of look to it, but just done up with not classic materials, and I think that's what makes it interesting.
And I like I just found it nice and subtle, and it kind of balanced the fact that it was a bigger knife, but it just was kind of gentlemanly almost. It's kind of sleek, it's easy to
Yeah.
carry, and I just found it super slick. And when I first saw it, I'm like, okay, I gotta get Bernard one of these. He's gonna love this, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
I just wish it were closer to like 2.9-inch blade, not 3.5. You know what I mean? Because just proportionally, it's
Yeah.
just quite a large
Well,
blade.
I may have some news to share very soon
Ah,
about
okay.
something that is closer to 2.9 that is also a Laconico, and we
Cool.
might have some news for that pretty soon. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
So
working on that. I'm working on that.
this is an MSRP of $333, marked down to 250 USD,
That
but it is
seems reasonable.
limited titanium and magna cut. So there you go.
Can you check how much the other Revel is. To do a quick
Uh,
search, there should be only two of them. Just the S90V and the Magna Cut. How much was the other one?
this one. So this is S90V titanium
Mm-hmm.
handle,
Oh, it's a
and that's
199. Okay.
199. Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So I don't know that I would EDC this one, but that brings for a reason that we should bring into the next segment, which
Sure.
is our Q&A. And we'll start with our best pal, Francisco's underscore finds. It says, can you rate your favorite EDC knife lock types? And I was about to say, right now, I don't love frame locks. I have so many frame locks because they were kind of the best, and a lot of high end knives use them. And titanium knives and like integral knives and stuff like that, they would have
Mm.
titanium frame locks. And I get it, they're cool, but there's I don't know. I think I've been spoiled by the prevalence of crossbar locks and button locks, where I
Mm.
kind of like not having to press down on a frame. And
Right.
it's not even a matter of like strength or
Security.
failure rate or anything like that. It's just like the actual feeling and experience of operating the lock. So I don't know. I'm kind of into non or like lock types where I don't have to put my thumb in the path of the blade. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
crossbar
get.
lock, axis lock, button lock, that kind of stuff.
I have been gravitating towards top liner locks where I can get them
That's also
because
similar.
yeah, definitely by default I like crossbar just because I'm a lefty and that
Mm-hmm.
works the best for me. In the whole my fingers not in the way of the blade, and I can use it left and right handed and all of that, and it's more convenient. I've been fortunate enough to not have any Omega Springs break on me ever. I've owned maybe 3 dozen crossbar lock knives now, and not one of them has failed Omega lock wise. Oh, sorry, Omega
Yeah,
spring wise.
me
So I've been
neither.
fortunate there. But it is more convenient, especially now. Okay, especially now that the crossbar lock on this parallel kind of
Got
started
tuned.
getting painful and was a bit
Oh.
of a pain to. It's got these sharp nubs on it, and
Hmm.
it started wearing out the pads on my fingers. And just for that reason, a stiffer crossbar lock has more fatigue when I use it over time versus something like a top liner lock where it's just simple push of a button,
Yeah.
or a top liner like a compression lock. I think
Right.
those are over time just slightly more comfortable. So kind of a toss up between crossbar lock and top liner lock for me at the moment,
Yeah.
whether button or otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think maybe just to level set a little bit for people who might not be familiar with a top liner lock,
Mm,
it's very similar to a liner lock, right? Which is
mm,
usually where your thumb is on the
yeah.
inside part of the handle. So, like in the path of the blade as it closes, but this time it's on the top. So, the outer side, and you just press down on it in a similar way that you would to a regular liner lock or a frame lock,
Yeah.
but on the other side, the spine of the knife, so that when the blade closes, your fingers aren't in the way of the blade.
Yeah. And it also works on left or right-handed use,
Hmm.
because on the left hand you can just use your index finger, which is pretty convenient. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have an example of a top liner lock that you've been feeling these days? I think one of my EDC knives from Vosteed uh, was that
Yeah, exactly. The Vosteed Thunderbird is my all-time favorite Vosteed knife, and that's a top button liner lock.
Thunderbird.
Yeah, the super fidgety one, the one that
Uh,
you can fidget 6 ways.
are you
Yes,
are you sure
that's.
that one's
Oh,
is
sorry,
that
that's
not
a.
just a button lock? That's just a
It,
button lock, isn't it? The
sorry,
choke
sorry.
lock?
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. It
Yeah.
is. I'm confusing it for something else, but
I know. I think the Vosteed Hedgehog is the top liner lock.
the
Um,
Psyop, the older
oh
Psyop.
yes, the Psyop. That one's really good. I would EDC that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Psyop.
yeah. So that's a top liner lock.
So yeah, third place would probably be a plunge lock or button lock on the
Mhm.
side. Yeah,
One thing that I'm kind of cautious about with button locks is depending on the execution, button locks can stick. So if you
yeah, and
don't, yeah,
it can get mushy. That's the thing. I've
yeah,
had some kind of mushy
it's either
button
mushy
locks.
or
Yeah,
rough. So
Yes, that's it.
yeah,
That's right.
that's unfortunate. But I guess that happens to all kinds of locks. So it just depends on the execution.
And also, just in defense of the frame lock, a really really good frame lock makes it feel like the knife is $1,000,000. Like when the
Mm,
action is perfect and the lock just snaps into place, and then it
yeah,
feels like a nice chunk when you disengage it, and then you get that nice drop shot. It just makes the whole knife experience and usability factor very very nice, and it feels like it's a premium, very well manufactured knife. I don't know what it is about the frame lock that adds to that feeling, but when I've held really nice higher end knives, not mine because I don't own any.
oh
When I've held the really nicer frame locks, that's how it feels to me. A nice chunk of the, especially if it's an integral, and then the tension on it, the detent is perfect, and it's a nice frame lock that doesn't stick or anything. I don't know. It just adds to the feeling of the knife being very very high quality and premium. Yeah.
yeah. I am probably not experienced enough to fully articulate why that might be, but I think you're onto something. And I think
Mm.
it does have to do with like the idea of like a tension being applied and you're sort of overcoming that tension in a satisfying way. And
Yeah.
it's like a little bit
And
more
that it's very
controlled.
delicate. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just like you press a thing and then it instantly collapses on itself or,
Yeah. Yeah.
right. So yeah, there's something there. But anyway, Francisco, I hope that
Always.
answers your question. Yeah, thank you again for the question. I appreciate you coming in, tuning in every week. So thanks for that. We'll move on to another question here. This is from Carba86. And they said, what is your opinion on modding certain EDC tools such as the Leatherman Arc? Question
Hmm.
mark? Hmm.
I'll let you go first since you are the former professional modder.
Okay, but not of EDC tools. Not of
Yeah.
yeah, not of EDC tools. I think modding stuff to fit your needs is fine. I think that's really cool. The only issue that might be, well, it's not even really an issue of mine, but some people, especially purists, they might feel some kind of way if you're taking limited editions of things or like collectible things and then modding them instead of just a regular general release version of that. So it's not like
Hmm.
the Leatherman arc is like limited or anything. So yeah, go ahead and mod that thing, but also like not sure why you would want to. But imagine if it were like a Leatherman garage release, right? Where there was like only 30 made and it's like a piece of Leatherman history and like their R&D or something. Some
Yeah.
Leatherman diehard fans might be upset with you if you decide to just like take it apart or paint it or something. Uh, but at the end of the day, it's your EDC.
Yeah. I have a very I don't know where the mentality came from. I have this very weird thing where I like stuff completely bone stock.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I would consider switching the clip from right hand to left hand as modding already. That is
Uh-huh.
that is the limit of this paranoia. I don't know what it is. I don't like changing. I don't even like changing my wallpaper. That's another kind of like extreme
Mm.
example for me. I don't know when it started, but I'm also of the mind of keeping all of the boxes and all of the little plastic and all of the manuals and everything for everything I own.
Okay.
It's
I
not
do
I
that
don't
too.
I don't own a lot, but the stuff that I own, I like to keep as pristine as possible in its original form, and that includes stuff related to it like options or maybe zipper pulls or whatever, or original LEDs on flashlights, or I don't know what it is about it that I've never let go, but I love bone stock, untouched, pristine
Yeah.
things, even though I use them all the time. You get
Okay.
me?
I have
I don't
no,
Yeah.
I totally get you. But
Yeah.
for me, this doesn't apply to EDC gear. But in one of my other hobbies that thankfully I've kind of moved on from, which
Yeah.
was retro video game console collecting.
Mm.
Like not even not even playing them, just collecting them. So I would get like new old stock or completely sealed stuff like a Nintendo Wii or something, right? And
Yeah.
I would keep everything either sealed or like all the original packaging and inserts and like plastic wrap and everything that you're saying, because I
Yeah,
think it preserves the experience as intended by the
as
designer and
intended.
manufacturer, right?
Yes.
So if at any point I want to like this hit of nostalgia, I can unbox a Weep exactly packed the way from the factory it was supposed to be, and that's a different kind of experience, and it does hit different. So I can see that.
I have an alternate. I have a leeway a little bit if it comes with another thing in the box, like an extra different color pair of shoelaces or an
Mm-hmm.
extra strap for a watch.
A
I
watch,
would
yeah.
switch between those easily. But if it's a
Oh.
different third party watch band, nah, it's not touching the watch. I don't know what it is.
Hmm.
I even replacement laces kind of get to me. If I've broken laces before for some reason, like they would snap or I would snag them on something and they just get frayed or something, and I would need to buy replacement laces. And maybe Nike. I've noticed that Nike or Adidas don't always sell the exact specific lace for the exact specific shoe separately. So you have to
Uh-huh.
buy a third party one, and that just bugs me. I don't know what it is. It just bugs me that I can't get an official pair of official Adidas
Yeah, 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 yeah.
laces that match the exact shoe that it came with. Why not just sell it separate? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, if it doesn't come in the box as originally intended,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably not something I'm gonna do. So I do
Interesting.
respect. I do respect. I love it when people mod the esh out of their stuff,
Mm-hmm.
changing colors, um, making it completely their own. But it's just not for me. I don't know. I don't know when it started, and it's probably not going to change anytime soon.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised at how much there's actually like how many opinions I have about this topic. I thought it was just like, it's your EDC, just do it. But when I think about my own stuff and
Right.
your story, there is a lot that I'm thinking of. So for example, you're talking about like the watch straps or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like like some of my Grand Seiko watches, like I bought aftermarket straps that are like third party, so the brand is like Deluxe. But it's clearly not as good as the OEM Grand Seiko strap. And I guess it's because it's like a third of the price. But I'm considering like buying another OEM, you know,
I've done this.
strap, right? Just because it does perform and look and feel better, but there's also this weird like psychological factor that you're talking about, where it's like it's from the original brand, it's made in the same way, it's designed to go together here, and there is that intended synergy. So
Exactly.
but that's not, I don't think that really applies to the scope of this question here about like certain EDC tools, because what can you do to a Leatherman arc? It's probably removing like tool implements like the blade or something. Maybe
Yeah.
now it's
Changing the
TSA
clip.
friendly, right? Or yeah, changing the clip, or I don't think they're like aftermarket scales for it, but you can imagine other knives, right? There would be aftermarket scales and
True.
things like
True.
that. And sometimes they do legit improve the performance or the appearance even.
Yeah.
But I can see, yeah, I don't know. There's like, why would anyone like? What are the reasons why people would mod something, right? So there's the personalized
Aesthetic.
functionality.
Yeah.
This guy, he goes straight to aesthetic. No, there's a personalized functionality, right? So for example, like we're saying, maybe you want a travel tool, but you can't fly with a blade, so you remove the blade, and that's your dedicated travel tool. That would be one form of modding to serve that function. The
Mm.
other might be aesthetic, right? Say you have an EDC that's all titanium, and then you get like a Spyderco knife that doesn't come with titanium scales, then you get aftermarket titanium scales. Then that
Mm.
also improves functionality and whatever. It's more expensive and it's not OEM, it's not stock, but now it matches the rest of your gear, and then maybe there's some like intangible value there. Um, but then there's also similar to that point, personal expression. You can make, and I've done this. Like I got a Spyderco Leaf Storm that had a clear G10
Mm.
thing, and
Yeah.
then I dyed it black because I thought black would look cooler than green.
Yeah.
Stupid. I was like so dumb. Why did I
I
do that? And I ruined I ruined that. I should have bought an like a aftermarket scale to like do it anyway.
I
But yeah,
also
those are the three
saw
reasons.
my knife guy who I send my knives for maintenance and sharpening and stuff. He posted recently about another customer who had a Spyderco the chef, Spidey chef,
Mm-hmm.
and it had the blade chipped and everything, so they had it reprofiled. And
Mm-hmm.
reprofiling, for those who don't know, is changing the blade shape completely from the original, for reasons of repair or damage or stuff like that. but inevitably the end result looked better than the original Spidey chef, and I was kind of having a crisis. I'm like, you ruined you changed the whole original knife.
Yeah.
It's not the same knife anymore, but it looks so much better actually.
Yeah.
You cooked with that, so I'm not sure. Sometimes I falter, um, but I do appreciate when it's done well, and it serves the function of making the person happy, but by making it completely the wrong. I totally respect that. It
Mm.
just I can't get over the psychological hurdle, like you were saying. It's just changing
Mm.
the clip to left-handed. That's probably enough for me, and everything else is just going to be OEM, bone stock, out of the box, dead stock, whatever. I don't
I'm
know.
curious about a potential reason why you have this resistance to
I
modding
know.
stuff.
I can't even
No,
articulate it.
so
Yeah.
let me pose this potential possibility, right? Like, are you not confident in your modding skills or design sensibilities? Do you think that the manufacturer knows better than you do, which is why you wouldn't take that chance? Because for me, sometimes when I mod stuff, I have a vision and I'm confident in the vision and how it will turn out, and I will invest time to learn the craft to execute it properly. I've done this with like Game Boys, for example, and some of the other stuff that I've worked on before, and I do end up liking the end result better than what maybe the designers at whatever that brand would have designed.
I have a suspicion of one major reason that goes into it.
Mm,
Growing up, I didn't have a lot of stuff. We're not really particularly well-off family, and
mm,
I always, whether it's toys or hand-me-down clothes or whatever, I always try and um, keep hold on to stuff as much as possible because I didn't want to lose it or I didn't want to break it.
yeah.
I think that's a big part of it. Growing up, of wanting to preserve something so that I never lose it or it never breaks down, just
Mm.
carried over naturally into I gotta preserve this no matter what. At the extreme end
Yes.
of
Yeah.
yeah, I
It's kind
think
of like a scarcity mindset almost.
yes, that's it. That's it.
Yes.
That's probably
Uh,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
I feel
So,
like that's a thinking about it now while we're talking about it. That's what it keeps coming back to internally. I don't want to
mm,
lose this. I don't want to break this. I don't want to ruin the original feeling of owning it brand new and the possibility of ever losing it, and I just want to hold on to that feeling. That's probably it. That's probably the best way I can explain it.
wow. Thank you for
That
sharing
guy.
that. Because to be honest, that's pretty vulnerable. That's a pretty vulnerable admission.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of you for being able to share that with us today. But yes, I can see that. And then I think we've talked about this a lot. There's actually so much to unpack here. But maybe
We'll
one
get to it
last
next
thing.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, one last thing about modding gear. I think, especially if it's in the collector space, one thing that might be a factor for people is like resellability, right?
That
Um,
too.
yeah. So I learned this very recently. Like, I tried to offload a bunch of my pants, but I had them hemmed, so like nobody wants them. That was my fault. But yeah, similar to like all this other stuff. Maybe if you don't have the original box, like say for example with watches, if you don't have box and papers, that will decrease the
Mm,
value. Or like if you like I don't know dyed your shoes or something, like nobody's gonna want those.
yeah.
So yeah,
It's
I
so
think.
if especially for Apple products, if you've kept everything in the box with the receipt, that thing just disappears. The moment you put it up online to sell
Mhm.
something, devices or anything in its original packaging with all the full plastic and everything I was talking about earlier, and then you kept the receipt too. Oh, that's so
Yeah,
easy. That's like a legit
yeah.
check in itself and all of that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think that's because it is as close to the original universal experience for any customer or owner to have, right? Versus your personalized experience. And then it's just interesting how the what you might value in your personalized experience is just like devaluing to the rest of the world, right? So
sure, sure, yeah,
really, like when it comes to your EDC, it's really down to like, is this something
yeah,
that you think like modding will be adding value in your
yeah,
particular experience, right? For the long haul, I guess. And
yeah.
maybe you have to be okay with some of the trade-offs of like resellability and like that stock intended sort of experience and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
anyway, great question, Carva 86. Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
that went
Let's
pretty deep.
yeah. Let's move on to another one. So let's go with this one. OGIG asks, how do you guys put so much in your pockets? And we could give a practical answer, right? where it's just like, oh, it's about like load distribution, and you pick the right things that can like fit into the thing. It's kind of like Tetris in your own pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can just get things that are slimmer or whatever, or be minimalist about it and just not carry as much stuff. But really, where I wanted to go with this is like, do you guys think that just because you have pockets, you need to put so much stuff in them? You know?
True. This is kind of like the display case situation I think I mentioned a while back, where you
Mm.
have 4 slots for a watch and you have 3 watches. Now you got to get
Mm-hmm.
a fourth watch, right? Instead of, even if you had the
Yeah.
3 of the most perfect watches you could ever own, you have a fourth empty slot. Got to put something there, right? So, but also, isn't he asking though? Maybe he's making a commentary about people carrying so much stuff, and he's wondering where on earth is everything going into your pockets?
Oh, true, true. So,
Yeah,
like, if you're, because these are questions from our Instagram, by the way. Every Monday, we'll post an Instagram story
yeah.
and we'll ask, like, what questions you want answered. So, they might be a new follower or a longtime follower and just see all these pocket dumps from people in the
Mm,
community. And it's like,
yeah,
oh, there's so much stuff in this picture. Like, how does it fit into the pockets? I
yeah,
guess we should clarify for people who are like maybe brand new to EDC or whatever, like, it's not always strictly what goes in your pockets.
yeah.
This is
It's
a
usually
different.
it's usually a state of the collection type post a lot of
Or
the
it could be a
time.
bag. It could be like a sling
Yeah,
bag. It could be a pouch or something like that.
yeah,
So it's really hard to tell unless people say. But
yeah,
yeah, that's kind of not where I was imagining this question going. But
yeah.
really, I kind of wanted to pose like a counter question. It's just
Mm,
like, yeah, do you guys think that just because you have pocket space available, do you feel you need to fill it? And that's sort of like what Mikey was saying, the watch box example.
yeah.
Another funny one is not Murphy's law, Parkinson's law, where it's like the task, like if I give you, say for example, Mikey, like, hey, you have 3 hours to complete this task for me, you're gonna take the entire 3 hours to do it, even though
Right.
if I told you like, oh, it's gonna take you 30 minutes, just do it in 30 minutes, you'll still get it done in 30 minutes. It kind of feels like that to me. It's like just because you have the pocket space, you're tempted to fill it up. But what I think people don't realize is that you can overfill pockets. Like not every pocket needs to be filled, because when you do that as a whole, especially in a bag, for example, if you fill every pocket in a bag, it gets harder to use the bag as a whole and each individual pocket because everything is taken up. So
Yeah.
I think this is, if anything, it's not really a question or an answer. It's sort of just like a reminder that like sometimes you might want to give things some space to breathe, and not everything needs to be filled to the limit.
Mm.
Thoughts?
That's that's wise advice in and out
Mm-hmm.
of EDC, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. So
And
maybe that's how
also,
I've been feeling lately.
mm, and funny how you brought up that example earlier of the Parkinson's law. That's the procrastination law as well. Paper is
uh,
due at
uh-huh.
5 a.m. I'm gonna start it at 3 because I had all this time
Uh-huh.
and I knew what I wanted to write. And
Sure.
yeah, I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
And then 4:45 is not printing. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Mikey. Do you have any sort of insight or response to that idea where maybe like in your bag setups or your pouches, do you fill every single pocket?
I try not to. I
Yeah.
am fascinated. I have a few friends who like to overpack, and I get it. It's kind of a mental game of wanting to be prepared and not wanting to leave anything at home, and also wanting everything within reach to
Mm.
the point of they make it worth their while to overpack and have that bit of inconvenience just to have the other convenience, you know? And
Mm.
I respect that. But for me, I kind of am gravitating towards as light as possible and as effective as I can be without. Oh, this is going back to the Ghost TI earlier, trying to
Mm.
strip everything down to the bare minimum without
Yeah.
losing functionality. That
Yeah,
is the
yeah, yeah.
whole circle of life philosophy I'm trying to achieve now, because specifically it is so freaking hot that if I have weight and heavy
Mhm.
stuff on me, and even if it's the lightest thing I have and it's pressed against my chest in this humidity, it's just sweat city.
Mhm.
It's just hopeless.
That's
And
quite nasty.
it just makes me tired, and it just makes me
Uh-huh.
annoyed and hot and bothered that why did I have to bring all this stuff? I could have just brought my wallet and earphones and not have anything to play on the earphones. And
Yeah.
Yeah. So these days, I am trying to cut it down to as just slice it razor thin to as
Mm-hmm.
thin as minimal as possible, while still able to carry as much as I need at any given moment. And that is
Mm.
my answer. But the to answer the other question, you got your caddies. I'll bring up caddies later on because there's a cool pocket dump that we're going to review
Mm.
that made
Mm-hmm.
me look at caddies again. But then there's also pouches, and I switch pouches between bags just to make it easier. And yeah, and just general reminder again that most of the time when people post a lot of stuff, it's not everything they're carrying in their pockets. They're probably distributing it across multiple EDCs, across multiple bags. They want to show off like the whole collection and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my both answers.
Nice.
And it
Nice.
is hot. Dang, it's so hot lately.
Yeah.
I swear. Yeah.
um, okay. Cool. Yeah. I guess speaking of things that are hot, I guess that was just my hot take that you
Mm.
don't need to fill every pocket and you don't need to carry everything so that your pouch is completely filled. And I think this is more of an invitation to practice some restraint and just see what the experience is like not having every single pocket or slot filled and what that extra space, that nothingness can afford you in the future. Maybe it's like that flexibility, that leeway, that breathing room, right? For things to work better or just give you just more mental space around what you're carrying. Because
Yeah.
maybe it's overwhelming when you open something and it's just like completely filled. Maybe you just want something more focused and minimalist and not really constrained at the same time. Because what you're doing is you're creating potential to carry more, right? Doesn't mean
Mm.
you necessarily need to all the time, but when the moment calls for it, when it's actually practical to do so, you have the potential and the space to accommodate. So
Yeah.
maybe that's
Leave
our
some room. Leave
leave
some
some
room.
room, leave
Leave
some
some
breathing
room.
room.
Yeah.
So speaking of breathing room, we're almost at the hour, so we should really finish up with the next segment of the show, which is our user submitted pocket dumps. And we will start with this EDC. So you can see all these EDCs now on everydaycarry.com. By the way, we have a pocket dump section, and that's where we will be posting these photos, beautiful photos with links to all the gear in here
Yeah.
and what we pick as our
Yeah.
top item in the photo. So what do we got here?
So we've got a Vero engineering fan.
Oh yeah, yeah, some
He's
good
got the
stuff.
full set. But what I really wanted to point out here is the tiny Viperade mini EDC pouch over in the top left
Yeah, yeah,
corner.
yeah.
And I didn't even know that they made them this small. You usually see some of the bigger ones to accommodate that, like a full sized knife, full size flashlight. That's the full pocket size one. I haven't actually seen. I didn't know that they made them this small, and I kind of
Mm-hmm.
considering it might be a nice way to carry smaller sets of stuff and still achieve the caddy system. And I just found that
Mm.
really the smaller size. I found this really charming in this context specifically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
proportionally, it's. I guess yeah, this whole photo just throws me off. Just the proportions of it, like the zipper looks huge, but it's not. Because then you have like you have the Big Eye Design mini bolt action pen, which is one that I have, and I know it's not big. So this really
Yeah.
is small.
Now that you
Um,
mention it, it is the big knife looking like the small knife is throwing everything else off.
Yeah, that too. That too. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty funny. But yeah, Vero engineering stuff really good. Big Eye Design also good. And then here's a RMC Hank that it's all on. I wonder what you would put inside a small mini EDC pouch like this, especially zip pouch.
Coins and keys, like what I was asking
Yeah,
earlier.
I guess so. Like I'm thinking
Yeah.
like SD cards or like little cables or converters, card readers, something like that. That's for me, like on the more tech side, I would say.
Yeah.
Um,
Button or an almond.
yeah, exactly. I guess you could fit. And does it have stuff on the back?
I
Um,
think so. I believe most of the Viperade stuff have a Molly pin. Sorry, button clasp that you can use
yeah,
to
yeah,
attach
yeah.
to stuff. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's got a little. I imagine this is a loop here, so you can suspend it too. I think
Mhm.
that's going to be a trend because we're starting to see more and more like small pouches or bags or even jackets or something that have these loops, like kind of just like for hanging or suspending modular gear to. So that might be popular.
Then we'll
Also,
see
the
the
growing
return
like
of the fish hook.
yeah, I was gonna say like the growing trend of like niche carabiner, even in like just general men's fashion and streetwear, like that's taking off. So I don't get it. I think I'm getting to the age where I don't understand the trends anymore, and I'm late to them. Instead of setting them, I'm just like, hey, I'm noticing this now, and I thought that was cool many years ago, and then now the kids are doing it today. I think that's what's
Yeah.
happening. So,
Yeah.
um,
We do be getting old.
yeah, um, and
It happens.
yeah, and but this is an EDC that many years from now will still be very sick. So thank you
Yeah.
from Dennis uh, for this pocket dump, and
And
you
you know
you
me,
can catch.
I love my brand synergy. It just looks
Yeah,
everything going together. I just love it.
yeah. So that's really cool. And honestly, if I had two Vero engineering knives, I would just carry both. So,
Same.
yeah. All right.
I could never get a hold of them. They're pretty hard to get.
I know. We'll keep trying. So this next one is from the MSTR I don't. I
Let's
can't
not
even
try
guess.
and pronounce that.
Yeah. And so they are a work at home workforce officer, and they said hard not
Oh,
to have
cool.
this even when at home, to keep track of time when on breaks or away from computer, opening packages from online shopping delivery. See, I called it, the rise of the utility knife. Or in case of a sudden power outage, slicing open cardboard or plastic meals when on break, and a bottle opener for the weekend booze with friends on the weekends. Sounds like a nice time. So
Sweet.
left to right here, we got the Olight i3T. That's a classic
Classic.
flashlight. And then speaking of classics, we got the
Classic.
Victorinox Pioneer in ALOX, and then this Casio here, 100 meters water resistance. Very interesting, kind of like
That's why I chose this one. I
yeah,
really like this Casio. Yeah.
yeah. It's kind of like a Genta design. Interesting, just like kind of industrial looking with this case shape and the bracelet.
But
And
mainline Casio, right? That's
yeah,
really
yeah,
interesting
yeah,
to me. That's super.
yeah.
Even the bracelet looks cool at this price
Mm-hmm.
point. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah. Then how do you even pronounce this? Reik?
I think it's Roik.
Reik?
Roik.
So somebody
They're
will correct us. Like
yeah.
I am
They're
known for not being able to pronounce brand names. So
I
somebody in the
believe
comments.
it's owned by Phoenix. It's their knife line. Yeah. Roik.
Interesting.
Roik.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
But they are like
Ruike.
like a Chinese budget knife brand, from
Yeah.
what I remember. Yep. And then some unbranded machined titanium pen, and then
Mhm.
the Night Eyes Doohickey. So this is a
Classic.
classic. This is a classic.
Man, that has been doohickey. That has been around
Yeah,
forever.
Doohickey. Yes, this
Doohick
has been around forever.
key.
I wonder how much it costs now, because this thing used to be like under
Well,
$10.
we do work hard on finding the proper link so people can buy this stuff. So you
True,
can
true.
go ahead and click on the doohick
Right, yeah.
key link right there.
But yeah, Mikey did pick this as his favorite of the bunch
Yeah,
here.
that is a nice
Um,
blue. And I was
mhm.
really surprised to have it be under Casio mainline
Yeah.
instead of. It looks like something that would fall under G Shock,
Mm.
but no,
Yeah.
get even more value, but still be 100 meters and everything.
$36 right now, according to our website API. So,
Sweet.
yeah, that's pretty affordable. And 100 meters water resistance and quartz. So it would be,
And steel bracelet.
yeah. So that would be accurate, and it would be durable, and just something that you could throw on as your EDC. So pretty cool. And then we don't really need to even say much about the rest of the flankers here, just because we know them to be classics. They're small, they're durable, they're functional, and they're affordable. So that's why they're classic. So
Some might
very well
say
rounded carry.
quintessential.
Oh yes, yeah, exactly. So if you haven't seen our episode on quintessential gear, these guys make an appearance. And one thing I do appreciate about this too is it's fully bases covered, basically, because you have multi tools, right? From the like a keychain multi tool, and then the Victorinox, and then you have your slice here with the Roik
Roik.
knife, and
I
then
say
your
Roik.
light, yeah, your light with the O light, and then your right with this pen, and then you also got something on your wrist. So
You
pretty
know,
cool.
something just clicked for me, and it's the stupidest thing. You know how people have always used these cutting boards or the this background, this
Oh
specific
yeah, it's
background.
like a mat. Yeah,
Yeah, the
cutting
cutting
mat.
mat. I just realized that because there's a grid, you can align and null everything perfectly and compensate for the warping of the camera. It
Where have you
just
been,
registered
bro?
to me that's that's a good reason for why it makes sense to use one of these as a background. Because classically, right, a lot of people have always used this specific cutting mat with the
Uh huh.
diagonal lines going like this.
Yeah. So
And I just
there.
realized it's a great way to align everything and to also make sure everything is in nice grid format. It just clicked for me for some reason. I thought it just looked cool originally, but now
Mm,
it just clicked for me that there is a practical purpose for using the grid.
yeah.
Obviously,
I used to use
duh.
these, but it made it harder for my editor to work on stuff because it's very clear when it's like not aligned properly. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but yeah,
Good for setting it up though.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's useful to have. Anyway, so thank you to the underscore master Colber.
Ma-
I don't know.
Master Master Caliber. Let's go with
Oh,
Master
that okay.
Caliber.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. I'm just making up words over here. So thank you, Mikey, for the assist, and I appreciate the submission. We're gonna jump into our last submission here as we hit the end of the show. This one is from the EDC crate. Yes, from
Mm.
at the EDC crate. They are from Costa Rica, and they're fans of all kinds of EDC stuff. And this is the all black config. And oh,
Hmm.
this is on a cool desk mat too from
Yeah,
NAS.
the
Kind of
NAFs.
yeah. So what do we got here? Another Olight i3T. Some might call it quintessential. And then for the pen, we
And a
got the Zebra.
Zippo.
Ah, yes. On the other side, yes. And in between those, we have the Zebra X701, and then a SOG Pentagon XR with a fossil watch on this cool black Milanese, and it's like it looks analog, but it's a smartwatch with these
Yeah,
little
that's what threw me for a
sundials.
loop.
Yeah,
I didn't realize when I first looked it up that it was a smartwatch, but yeah,
yeah.
fits everything else. I love, you know me. I love the all black stuff.
Yeah. Not only is it all black with like cool textural contrast too, right? So I think
It's true.
that's pretty important. Whether you're gonna do like an all black outfit or an all black EDC gear, like if you're just doing
Texture,
all shades of black, texture
texture
and
is key.
silhouette. Yep.
Yeah,
So
and
I think
mixed
that's very cool.
materials.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's how you
Yeah,
get the texture, right? So
you're right. Yeah.
that's what we got here. And what did we pick for our staff pick here? It's the Zebra Tactical 701.
Very uncommon zebra EDC
Yeah,
appearance. Not one
yeah.
of the usual.
It's not the F701, the all
Yeah,
steel silver, but it's
not
the
the
tactical version.
not the seven. What's the other one? MXD is the modded
FXD, I think.
FXD. There we go. Yeah,
Something
it's
like
usually
that.
the 701 and FXD. But yeah, you get the
Yeah.
all black tactical retractable ballpoint pen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
So
my
pretty
pick.
cool. Yeah. I like that. And then the rest are, you're covering the bases as well. This is interesting to me. When I see something like this, especially with the Zippo, I mean, I don't know what um, the EDC crate is using the Zippo for, but I kind
Mm.
of think more like outdoorsy when you have like I don't know Zippo, I guess. But then you have like the this is like a not as tactical watch, right?
Yeah,
And everything
Milanese
else
is
seems
kind of a fancy strap to go
yeah,
with.
and just like it being a smartwatch too,
Yeah, yeah.
versus like a field watch or something.
Mm.
So it's an interesting like mix of use cases, I guess. But then
The
like it
dichotomy.
works. Yeah,
There you
it
go. Fancy word
works.
for you.
Yeah, and I mean all of those are false, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, yeah, it's cool. I like to see more themed gear too. And black is a classic. Everybody loves all black EDC gear. Whenever I try to make like a cool flat blade like this one, like this ad right here, it's like all titanium. People, it's like they gravitate towards the all black. So pretty cool. Um, any last words here, Mikey?
No, thanks for the submissions. All of these pocket dumps on the website also have a handy link at the bottom where you can make a submission as yourself.
Ah, yeah.
We love seeing it. We work really hard to make sure all of the links work and people can actually buy the stuff that people share, and trying to, share the love of people finding cool and new interesting stuff. So
Yeah.
this is one of the most popular sections of the site, so we work really hard to
Mm-hmm.
keep it updated, and we do appreciate all of the submissions from across, both with that forum and across all of our communities and stuff. So we love to
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah. Definitely. And again, thanks to Mikey and the team for putting these together and everybody who submitted. So if you want to be featured on everydaycarry.com, like how sick is that to be like, my EDC was picked by everydaycarry.com and then talked about on the podcast and all that. There will be a link to submit your EDC in the description of this show. So um, I think that just about wraps it up for today's episode. So, uh, if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Hit that subscribe, share with a friend, and follow us on socials, also linked below. And if you want to be part of our EDC community, feel free to hop into our Facebook group or Discord server for more real time discussion with other EDCers. And lastly, if you have any feedback for us or questions you want answered on the show, you can shoot us an email at podcast@everydaycarry.com. Thank you so much for listening to Carry the Way. I'm Bernard.
And I'm Mikey, and let us know what deep-seated psychological stuff you unpack with your gear.
Yes. And until then, be well. Peace.